Imagine this. You wake up one morning, check your phone, and suddenly realize it's not the same year. The world outside looks unfamiliar. The people around you, they don't recognize you. And then it hits you, you've traveled through time. Sounds impossible, right? But what if I told you that time travel isn't just a fantasy from movies, but a concept deeply rooted in the very fabric of our universe? Time travel, one of humanity's greatest fascinations, has been a subject of myths, science fiction, and groundbreaking physics. From ancient legends to Einstein's mind-bending theories, the idea of moving through time has captivated scientists and dreamers alike. But is it really possible? And if it is, what would be the consequences? Today, we dive deep into the mysteries of time travel, exploring what science says, what history suggests, and what the future might hold. The nature of time, more than just a clock. Before we explore time travel, we need to understand what time actually is. To most of us, time feels like a constant, flowing from past to present to future, unstoppable, inevitable. We measure it with clocks, calendars, and the ticking of our own lifespans. But science tells a different story. Albert Einstein changed everything with his theory of relativity. He proved that time isn't absolute, it's flexible. It bends, stretches, and even slows down, depending on gravity and speed. This means that time isn't a universal constant, but a dimension, just like length, width, and height. And if time is a dimension, could we navigate it, just as we move through space? Time dilation, a glimpse into the future. One of the strangest proofs of time's flexibility comes from Einstein's concept of time dilation. Simply put, time moves slower for objects traveling at extreme speeds. The faster you go, the slower time passes for you compared to someone standing still. We've already seen this happen, right here on Earth. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station experience time slightly differently from us. Because they move at high speeds, their biological clocks tick a little slower. When they return to Earth, they've technically aged less than those of us who stayed behind. It's only by milliseconds, but what if we pushed this to an extreme? If you could travel close to the speed of light, time would slow down drastically for you. Let's say you board a spacecraft traveling at 99.9% the speed of light and leave Earth for a journey that feels like just a few years to you. When you return, decades, even centuries, might have passed on Earth. You would have effectively traveled into the future. Wormholes, cosmic shortcuts through time. If we want to go back in time, we might need something even more extraordinary: wormholes. Imagine space-time as a giant fabric. If you fold that fabric, two distant points can touch, allowing instant travel between them. This is what a wormhole is, a shortcut through space and time. The idea of wormholes comes straight from Einstein's equations, and some physicists believe they might exist. If they do, they could theoretically allow time travel by connecting different points in history. But there's a problem. Wormholes, if they exist, are unstable. They might collapse before anyone could use them. And even if we could stabilize them, paradoxes arise. What if you went back in time and prevented your own birth? This is known as the grandfather paradox, one of the biggest mysteries of time travel. So, does that mean time travel to the past is impossible? Not necessarily. Some theories suggest that time travel might work in ways we don't fully understand yet. What if the universe prevents paradoxes from happening? What if changes in the past create new timelines, instead of altering the original one? Time travel paradoxes, the great cosmic dilemma. Time travel to the future is scientifically possible through time dilation, as proven by Einstein's theory of relativity. But traveling back in time, that's where things get complicated and paradoxical. One of the biggest roadblocks is the grandfather paradox. Imagine this: you somehow find a way to travel back in time. Out of curiosity, you interfere with your grandparents' lives before they had children. Maybe you prevent them from meeting, or something you do causes them to never have kids. But if your grandparents never had children, then your parents were never born, and that means you were never born either. But if you were never born, then how did you travel back in time in the first place? This creates an unsolvable loop, where cause and effect break down. Some physicists argue that paradoxes like this mean time travel to the past is impossible. But others believe that the universe has built-in safety mechanisms to prevent contradictions. One theory, called the Novikov self-consistency principle, suggests that no matter what you do in the past, history corrects itself, meaning your actions were always meant to happen and wouldn't change the present. For example, if you tried to stop a historical event, say, the invention of the telephone, you might accidentally end up causing the very circumstances that led to its invention in the first place. In other words, time might be flexible, but it's not breakable. But what if time doesn't correct itself? What if changing the past doesn't erase the present, but instead, it creates an entirely new timeline? This is where the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics comes into play. This theory suggests that every possible outcome creates a parallel reality. So, if you went back in time and changed history, you wouldn't be altering your original timeline, you'd just be creating a new branch of reality where things play out differently. If this is true, then time travel wouldn't necessarily rewrite history, but it could create alternate universes where time travelers' actions unfold separately. Could this explain strange historical anomalies, stories of people claiming to be from the future or technologies appearing ahead of their time? Could time travelers already be among us, but in ways we don't recognize? Real-world cases, time travelers among us. Throughout history, there have been mysterious cases that some believe could be evidence of time travel. While most are likely hoaxes, they raise interesting possibilities. One such story is the bizarre case of Andrew Carlson. In 2003, news surfaced about a man who was arrested for insider trading after he turned $800 into $350 million within 2 weeks. Authorities demanded to know how he made such perfect stock predictions. His answer? He claimed to be a time traveler from the year 2256. According to the legend, he offered to reveal key future events in exchange for a lesser sentence, but before any further investigation could be conducted, he mysteriously disappeared. Many believe this story was fabricated by tabloids, but it still fuels speculation about the existence of time travelers among us. Then there's the infamous John Titor case. In the early 2000s, an internet user claiming to be a time traveler from 2036 appeared on online forums. He described in detail how his time machine worked, provided technical schematics, and even warned of future world events. While many of his predictions didn't come true, some of his descriptions of future technology, like advancements in AI and quantum computing, were surprisingly accurate. Was he a fraud, or did he come from a timeline different from ours? Even famous scientists like Stephen Hawking were fascinated by this question. In 2009, Hawking conducted an experiment. He threw a party for time travelers, but there was a twist. He only sent out invitations after the party had already happened. His reasoning? If time travelers existed, they would show up. But no one came, or did they? Could time travelers already be here, blending in without revealing themselves? If they do exist, how would we even recognize them? The future of time travel, science or fiction? Right now, time travel remains a theoretical possibility rather than a reality. Our current technology isn't advanced enough to manipulate time in a significant way. However, the laws of physics don't forbid time travel outright. Some theories suggest that black holes, wormholes, or even quantum mechanics could hold the key to unlocking time travel in the future. For example, some physicists are exploring quantum entanglement, where two particles remain connected across vast distances, instantly influencing each other. Could this be an early sign of how time and space might be manipulated? Some researchers even speculate that advanced civilizations, if they exist, might have already mastered time travel. But if time travel does become possible in the future, would we even know it? Could it be that time travelers already walk among us, carefully avoiding detection to prevent altering history? Or maybe the reason we don't see time travelers is because of paradoxes. Perhaps history simply won't allow us to change it. Final thought. So, what do you think? Is time travel possible? Have we already discovered it but just don't realize it yet? Or could time travelers already be here, watching, observing, and blending into history without us knowing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because when it comes to time travel, the debate is far from over.